What is up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome back to another video where I do whatever the frick I want. How are you doing? I am so glad to hear that. Unless you said you're not doing well, then I apologize. I'm doing well, thank you for asking. For today's video, I'm going to be answering some more of your guys' questions that you have related to traveling. And then after those are out of the way, I'm going to be giving you the best tips that I've personally come up with after traveling for a year on how to travel for as cheap as possible. If you're not interested in the first part of the video, then you can skip to this time, and that's when I'll start giving you the different tips for traveling as cheap as possible. My first question, when am I gonna start doing travel videos again? For the past month, all of my videos have kind of been just like sit down, chatting videos, answering your questions. The reason for that is because for the past month, I've been staying in a campground in Montana. As you guys know, I'm trying to go to Alaska, but I'm waiting for the Canadian border to open before I can do that. So I'm staying about a half hour from the Canadian border, just waiting for it to open. But the weather is getting so hot here. It's been extremely hot for the past week because of the heat wave. It's been about 100 degrees every day, so that's why I'm staying at a campground, because I need AC. So that's why I haven't really filmed any travel videos for the past month-ish, because there hasn't been anything to do. I've just been locked up in my RV, and I go out just to go get groceries because it is unbelievably hot and miserable outside. But since it doesn't look like the border to Canada is opening anytime soon, I'm just gonna go head over to Washington. The weather's about 20 to 30 degrees cooler there, so once I get there, then there will be plenty more travel videos, I promise. I actually have a really cool video idea coming up. It's like a wilderness adventure video, but I want to keep it a surprise, so wait for that. I'm really excited to share it with you. Next question is about my fuel economy for my RV. So if I'm driving on completely flat land, I get about 8 miles per gallon. I know. That's pretty terrible. But if I'm going uphill or going up a mountain, oh goodness gracious, it's probably about like 4 to 5 miles per gallon. It's really terrible. So that's the answer to that question. But on top of that, I also get asked a lot about a comparison between my van and my RV, what I like, what I dislike. So I'll just go over that really quick. The pros of having my van was that I could go in more remote areas, which I can still go in pretty remote areas with my RV. I haven't had an issue with that. Gas mileage, I got about 10 to 12 miles per gallon with my van, so it honestly wasn't that much more. I can't think of many other pros of having my van. It didn't have air conditioning. My RV does. A lot less space, obviously, which my RV makes up for that. I have almost 3 different rooms in here. My van didn't have a bathroom. My RV does. I also have a full shower. So I've gotten a lot of questions as to if I regret getting the RV or if it's been more difficult. Honestly, for the most part, no. I wouldn't say that it's been more difficult. What was the cost of my conversion? So my full conversion of my RV cost about $4,000 to $5,000. I've been having trouble trying to exactly estimate because I didn't do a very good job at calculating everything as it happened. The most expensive thing was my flooring, believe it or not. I didn't think it was going to be that expensive. I was very naive going into this, thinking maybe I could spend $300 and my floors would be done. But no, it was extremely expensive. I was able to convert my entire kitchen for about $400. I think that my kitchen was the biggest conversion that we did because I had to rip off the counter and do a bunch of painting and plumbing and all that stuff. So that was probably the most costly individual space of the RV. So I was able to convert it and make it look nice for a pretty cheap price. I definitely could have budgeted a little bit more, but also I think I did a pretty good job. I don't think it was that expensive for the amount of work that was actually done. By the way, there will be a van tour coming up soon. I'm still working a little bit on the renovation process, so once that's done, then I'll show you guys everything that there is. Next question, I think I might have answered this before, but why did I start Vanlife? So I basically started Vanlife because I was depressed. Not even lying. Yeah, that's basically just the quick answer. Depression. I was just so bored and unhappy with my life where I was, even though I was still like in high school and everything. My last 2 years of high school were really tough for me. I ended up being homeschooled because I absolutely hated high school. I finished my last 2 years in 1 year. Since I was homeschooled, I had a lot more time to just dive into my schoolwork and just get things done. So during that year, I did a lot of thinking and decided that I wanted to travel. So that's where that idea just like kind of sparked, was my junior year of high school. Another big factor that made me want to travel was the seasons, which sounds weird. That's an interesting reason. I absolutely hate the winter with a passion. Everything's dead. It's so depressing. Everything's just like white. And I lived in Maryland, so about 4 months out of the year was winter, and I hated that so much. So I decided that I'll just travel seasonally, so I never have to experience the winter. I go to California in the winter, and then go up north during the summer, and then just kind of go back and forth. So that's another reason why I was really motivated to travel, so I could avoid the winter time. Next question, what is one reality of van life that you wish other van lifers would share? Oh goodness, I don't even know where to start with this one. It's a good question. I'm planning on making a whole video about this if it's something you guys are interested in, but it is not as glamorous as it seems. Trust me, when I was in high school and I told you guys I was thinking about doing this, I would sit down and watch hours worth of content from different YouTubers and them showing their lifestyle and traveling around, and they just go swim in the ocean in the morning and then they're skydiving by nighttime and just having a grand old time. Yeah, it's like that sometimes, but also at the same time, there's a lot of days where it's just like boring, depressing, it's extremely hot. I know that these seem like definitely first world problems, and they are, but when you get into it, you don't think about that. So you think like everything's just gonna be glamorous until it's 104 degrees outside and you're just sweating and you have nowhere to go and no air conditioning. So I just wish people would share more of like the downsides of van life. Next question, how did I meet my travel buddy? I get this question all of the time. You guys are very interested in everything about him, which I guess I understand. It's like a mysterious person on my channel that you guys like sometimes hear his voice, and like, I don't know, it's become kind of like a thing on my channel. Believe it or not, I met him in a Walmart parking lot. He recognized me from my YouTube channel, which is really cool. I was walking Millie outside in the luscious grass area of the back parking lot of the Walmart, and I guess he saw me and then walked up and he was like, yo, I've seen your YouTube videos. And I was like, oh, that's cool, thank you. And he was like, are you still traveling? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I'm traveling too, because he was on his own road trip. And then we hung out for that day, and then hung out the next day, and then the next day, and then decided that we wanted to try to travel together, and we've been traveling together since. So that's how we met. It was definitely a very spontaneous way to meet. Next question, how do I handle the heat? Well, it's really hot right now, so I think this is the perfect time to tell you. You don't. Next question. I'm just kidding. You kind of just embrace it. That's what you gotta do sometimes. Especially when I was living in my van, I did not have air conditioning at all. Not even up front. It was just broken. It did not work. I remember, I think I was in Arizona. It got to about 100 degrees and I was just miserable the entire day. I just laid in a neighborhood park in the grass under a tree with Millie, and we just chilled there for like 2 hours just laying in the shade. Since then, I've tried my best to travel with the weather. I've learned that that's the best thing you can do to avoid it, because there's nothing really that you can do once it's already hot. So that's what you gotta do, just kind of embrace it or avoid it. So now that I've answered all of your guys' questions, it's time for me to give you my best tips for traveling on a budget, okay? So what are your different job options? I'm just gonna get this one out of the way because I get a lot of questions about how people can make money while on the road. There are so many different side gigs. Some of them aren't that glamorous, but they will make you money. The ones I can think of off the top of my head are dog walking, so you can use apps like Rover or Wag. You can work on farms. There's a website called Wolf, and they pay you in food or parking or cash. It depends on who you stay with. Some of the farms you get to take care of like baby goats and you get to bottle feed them. Some farms you're working in a garden. Some farms you're cleaning up cow patties. It really just depends on the farm. You can also work at campgrounds. They'll either pay you in cash or let you stay there for free and have like free water, free Wi-Fi. If you guys would like a whole video on different job options for traveling, then I would be more than happy to do that. But those are just the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. One of my favorite tips that I actually learned recently is that you can get clothes from a dollar store. Normally in resort towns they have really nice Dollar Trees, and they'll have a lot of different t-shirts that you can just pick from for $1. You can't beat $1 clothes, okay? Obviously you're not gonna find anything named brand, but you'll be able to find just like a plain t-shirt in multiple different colors. I do it quite frequently actually, because I don't really like being a walking billboard, so I don't mind not having a logo on my shirt. My next tip really comes in handy now that I'm driving this gas guzzler. There's an app that you can download on iPhones. I don't know if it works on other devices. It's called Gas Buddy, and it tells you all of the different gas prices in the area and lets you compare which one's cheaper, and you can find what the best deals are in your area. I don't really know. I can save like $5 to $10 on each fill up, to the point that after I fill up my gas a certain amount of times, I almost get a whole gas tank free because I've saved like $5 or $10 on all the past ones, that it adds up to a free tank. So I would definitely suggest doing that. My next tip is free camping. How do you camp in a city, and how do you find free camping in the wilderness? In the city, there are so many options. Cracker Barrels, Walmarts, Planet Fitnesses, Lowe's, Home Depot, Cabela's, some gas stations, truck stops, rest areas. I personally really like staying at rest areas because it's usually on the side of the highway. You just pull off, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, get back on the highway. It's super easy, super simple. A lot of the times they have picnic areas, they have bathrooms, they have a vending machine, so it's just a nice little area to just stay for like 8 hours. But there's almost an endless amount of options for places to stay when you're in a city. Just saying. And then when it comes to staying in the wilderness, the great thing about the United States, I only know about the United States because this is the only place I've traveled, maybe it's the same for other places, is that basically every single national forest, unless it's otherwise stated, but I'd say about 98% of national forests allow free camping for up to 14 days, and it's really easy to find a camp spot. All you have to do is just drive on the main highway that goes through whatever national forest you're going through, and then on the side of the road, once you get kind of deep, like a few miles into the national forest, you'll start seeing these brown signs that have a white arrow and a little camping tent symbol on it, and that means that you can camp there. And you'll just see them all down the highway. You just turn down that road, and then once you get down it, there's just camp spots all along the little dirt road. Alright, my next tip is how to find free water. You might think that this part's easy, but it's actually way more difficult than you would ever imagine. But there are multiple different options when it comes to finding water. My favorites that I've actually learned quite recently is going to a campground. You can just call ahead, even if you're not staying at the campground. You just say, hey, if I pay you a certain amount of money, will you let me fill up my water tank? And I'd say about 75% of the time they say yes, and it's usually pretty cheap. So that's one way that you can get water. The free options are that you can go to a gas station. Usually if you're already filling up your gas and they have a water spigot, they'll let you fill up your water. It's no issue. Make sure you call before, because sometimes they get like angry if you don't ask, which is understandable. So that's probably the easiest way. And then also a lot of the times in cities they have RV dump stations, which are sometimes free, sometimes paid. It really depends. But if you're already dumping like your toilet or something, usually they have a hose right there, and then you can just fill up your water. I'd probably suggest bringing your own hose, because you don't know what their hose was used for, with like people pouring out their poop and then like rinsing out things and like funky things, trust me. But usually the water's perfectly fine and clean, and it's free. So there you go. I never said these were the most glamorous ways. I never said that. I said free, okay? My next tip is to order things online. Because as you guys probably know, when you go to the store, things are usually a lot more expensive. Not all the time, it depends on what you're trying to get. But a lot of the time, things are more expensive when you buy them in the store than online. And this might be common sense to most of you, but at the same time, when you're traveling on the road, you don't have anywhere to order things to. So this is where my tip comes in. So say you want to order something off of Amazon because it's cheaper than going to the store. What you can do is order it to either a CVS, a Rite Aid, or an Amazon Dropbox, because that's a thing in some cities. But I've ordered multiple things to CVS and Rite Aid, and they've let me do it for free every single time. Maybe each CVS and Rite Aid are different, so I would call before. My next tip might be a little bit of common sense, but definitely plan before you go. And I don't just mean plan your next week-long trip. I'm talking about next time you go to a gas station, if you're going in 20 minutes. Make sure that the gas station is big enough for you to actually go to, so that you're not driving around aimlessly looking for another place and wasting gas. My favorite thing to do is just go on Google Maps, and then you go to satellite view, you zoom up on wherever you're trying to go, see if the parking lot's big enough so you can fit your vehicle there, and see what kind of roads you're gonna have to drive down, because there's nothing worse than going down a road and it's super cramped and you have hardly any room and you're trying not to hit pedestrians and you're driving a huge RV and you can't turn around corners because there's cars parked and you're trying not to hit them. It's really stressful. So definitely pre-plan your route, because it'll save you money with gas and save you a headache trying to get around small towns. My last thing, this is always everyone's favorite topic and doesn't make anyone feel awkward at all. Toilets. Where are you gonna poop? The best option that I've personally seen other people use is a luggable loo, which is basically just a bucket with a toilet seat on it, and then it has a little lid, and you put a bag into it, and you do your business, and then you discard it. Honestly, I think that this is the best option for a toilet if you were on a budget. Obviously, it's not ideal. If there's public toilets around, then you might want to use those, but in a pinch, it's pretty helpful. There are definitely better portable toilets, but those can go up to like $1,000, $2,000. So I personally think that is the best option if you're on a budget and you want something that resembles a toilet and something that's kind of comfortable. But those are all of my tips. I really hope that this video was somewhat helpful and you guys learned something new. I hope that it gave you some insight if you're planning on traveling or you're thinking about it, considering it. All of those are synonyms, because obviously, like any lifestyle there is, this one's not perfect, and a lot of people like to make it seem like it's perfect. So yeah, I wanted to share this with you guys because I've been getting a lot of questions about different tips because you guys are thinking about traveling, or you are and you just need advice or help or something. Obviously, I'm not an expert in this field, so if any of you guys have any tips, leave them down below because I'm always looking to find new things. Okay, well, it's getting really hot in here and I need to turn on my air conditioning, so I'm gonna go. Yes, feel free to follow me on Instagram right here. Do it, please. I'd appreciate it. That's the way that you can keep most up to date with me. I post on there probably every few days so you guys can see what I'm doing on my day-to-day life. Also, feel free to DM me on there. We can have a nice chat in my DMs. You can just slide right into them. And then on top of that, don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to. I'd really, really appreciate it. Click the bell so that you're notified next time I upload and you won't miss any of my videos. And then also give this video a like if you'd like to, or a dislike if you want. That's completely fine. And then please be sure to comment. All of these things, subscribing, liking, and commenting, helps with the algorithm, which means that my video will be pushed to more people and get a wider audience if you guys do that. So it's a free way that you can help the channel out. Thank you so very much. Last but not least, I would like to say a huge thank you to all of you guys who are supporting the channel on Patreon. Because of you, I'm able to continue making content and show you all of the beautiful places that the United States and many other places in the future have to offer. And I get to make these kind of videos where I give you guys tips and tricks and the same videos I've made in the past where I do interesting things. Yeah, I'm able to do all of this because of your guys' support, so thank you so very much. And an extra special thank you goes to JoJo and Beastie, John Emerson, Scott Ashley Smith, Michael Posh, Scott Valentine, Scott Sweaters, Paul Carpenter, Britt Saunders, Johan Gittens, Jordan Vajda, and Duncan Stewart Cumming. Once again, thank you guys so very much. I really, really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how much you help me. But I think that's all I have to say. Peace out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.